By the time he gets out, all of us will be old or dead. You know, who knows if he'll be around for that long. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. This is episode 4 of Lawyer Take. It's T Zeal, your 24-year-old California lawyer. If you have not already checked out episode 3, I literally just shot it right before making this video, so please go check it out. So let's get right into it. This video is on Tamar Trayvon McIntyre. Wait, who the f is this guy? It's TK. That's TK? Okay, this video is on TK. TK was basically charged for capital murder of a 21-year-old named Ethan Walker. So, a little backstory on his situation. He had already pleaded guilty on 2 counts of aggravated robbery and was found guilty on a 3rd count tied to the incident. Basically, TK, a group of friends, they were going to rob somebody, and essentially what the judge ruled was the fact that this robbery was going to be an aggravated robbery. So I'm assuming that there was some understanding that maybe somebody would be home or something of that nature. We are going to rob this person, and more likely than not that violence will be involved, so everybody kind of has this understanding that they may need to be violent when it comes down to this robbery. Ethan Walker, as you know, 21-year-old, was basically being robbed for drugs and money. TK and his friends, I'm not really sure how many people he did this with, but you know, that's not really the focus of this video. They basically robbed this guy because they thought he had money and drugs. Unfortunately, I guess for everybody, is the fact that he had neither, which made the robbery a little rough. There's a good chance that they would have been violent towards this guy anyways, but you know, not having what these people thought he would have probably made them pissed off and made this situation more tension-filled than it might have otherwise been. So I guess Walker's girlfriend was actually there, and she witnessed the entire thing, at least from what it seems like from the news stories I read. And she basically said that her boyfriend, Ethan Walker, had his hands in the air. Presumably they would have asked him to put his hands in the air so he doesn't do anything, which he followed. And they ended up shooting him anyways when his hands were in the air. I think they were kind of cowardly to do this to somebody that literally had his hands in the air. At the time, you would think that TK was a lot older than he was. You know, you're planning this robbery, all this violence involved and stuff. And you figure out that this kid was only 16. He was 16-year-old. Doing all of this, you know, you're almost throwing your life away. You know that this robbery is gonna require violence, and you're kind of just saying, you know, you don't care. I'm not sure why you would do this unless you're trying to show out in front of your friends or whatever. But, you know, he's 16 at the time, basically. What they do is consider him adult for this trial. Not really surprising. He's almost 18 anyways. It's a little too serious, I think, to just consider him a juvenile at this point, literally killing an innocent person who also had his hands in the air. So there's no threat of violence, anything like that. And you know, so they're pretty much not going to show him any mercy, which is not surprising. It gets a little more interesting, and you would think that the story kind of ends there, but it does not. He gets placed on house arrest with an ankle monitor, and this is where things get interesting. I'm pretty sure this is kind of the verge of when and why he becomes famous, as all of you watching this video know. While he's on house arrest with the ankle monitor, he basically escapes in the spring of 2017, and it basically creates a manhunt for him in the United States because now they don't know where he's at, and the marshals are basically looking for him, and they consider him a violent fugitive. While TK is on this infamous run, apparently while he was on the run, he ended up beating and robbing a 65-year-old. At this point, I'm assuming he's kind of doing it out of desperation. Who knows how much money he had at the time. And, you know, I'm not saying it's justified whatsoever, but it kind of, I think you kind of understand where he's coming from at this point. And he understands that he has nothing to lose. More likely than not, he's going to get life in prison. Either way, so, you know, he's kind of acting out of that. Eventually, he gets sentenced to 55 years in prison and has to pay a $21,000 fine for the 2016 robbery. He's not the only person charged. The people he did this with are basically charged as well. Something to note, and I don't think this justifies it, you know, in terms of the murder itself, but apparently the police actually did investigate this home for drugs before, and you know, obviously I'm assuming TK had nothing, no knowledge of this investigation. I'm sure it was kind of through connection that he knew that this guy, Walker, had drugs in the home. So I guess the second charge, if I'm understanding this correctly, I think it was worded kind of weird in the articles I read. Some articles didn't actually discuss the second murder at all, but from my understanding, I guess the second murder, or excuse me, not the murder, like the robbery of that 65-year-old, I think it leads to 30 years in prison on 1 count of aggravated robbery and 13 years for the remaining 2 counts of aggravated robbery, and the sentences kind of run concurrently, which means that he's gonna get, he doesn't have to serve them separately, but they all run at the same time. But yeah, this is kind of an interesting situation. I think that as a 16-year-old, your dream should be bigger. It doesn't necessarily seem like he had any reason to rob this guy. I'm not sure how much cash he thought this guy had. Considering that there were drug investigations at this home, it seems like TK and his friends believed that this guy had a lot of money. Like, you know, I'm just not really sure, but the facts of the case kind of make it seem like this guy Walker was actually a drug dealer maybe, and that's why his home was investigated, and that's why TK and his friends thought he would have a lot of money and also drugs. But he didn't have either. I think they could have played it smarter, but maybe they thought that Walker would come after them in some way if they let him live. But it seems like if anyone was going to come after him, they would have came after him anyways after killing Walker himself, like Walker's associates or whatever. But yeah, so it really does not seem like it was worth it. I would say, you know, he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison, or, you know, a very huge majority of it, 55 years. So yeah, by the time he gets out, all of us will be old or dead. You know, who knows if he'll be around for that long. So it is a very interesting situation. I think this kind of, when you look at this situation compared to someone like 6ix9ine, you kind of do appreciate the fact that TK held his own. He did not snitch on anybody. And, you know, his sentence is very serious, so you kind of appreciate the fact that he, if he was going to live by the gun, he was going to die by the gun kind of mentality, and not somebody that's kind of ratted out at the end or cowardly snitched on his friends. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think justice was served on this one, considering he kind of had this coming. I don't necessarily see any reason why he shouldn't have been charged as an adult, since he was already 16, and based on the circumstances, it seems like justice would be served more so if he was charged as an adult. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I have for you guys. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Check out my merch, and remember, triumph, your dreams await.